Hello, am I hosting from here?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a bit of a delay. We're trying something a little different, everyone. This is week 22 of the pregnancy desktop, inspired by Jason Concepcion's NBA desktop for the Ringer. And as we like to do, we're trying to have a 1 week recap of this week in the pregnancy. And should I stop?
No.
Okay. Um, so I'm actually sitting here at my place, and my background is that we're starting this vlog to chart the week by week progress of pregnancy, and it's a twin pregnancy, and we're at week 22 now, as you can see. My background is in athletics and architecture and engineering, and this is a whole new adventure that we're on together. And so I'm here with my partner, although we're in different cities right now. So we're trying to record this um, with as few technical difficulties as possible. And we always like to open with a pun, but I'm going to hand it off to my co-host for this part.
Okay, so this is a pun in which I asked Donna a question and she's an answer. So the question for you, Donna, is how do you feel about all these physical changes that you're going through being pregnant?
Oh, yeah. Some people would say it's the worst, but I would say it's the breast.
Good.
Okay, and do you want to take us through the size rundown this week, or do you want me to?
All right, yeah, so I looked up some sizes for the size rundown portion. I'll go through it quickly. So the most common one was the papaya. So for week 22, they're incredibly specific about the length, 10.94 inches and 15.17 ounces. I feel like they probably just like had something that was an even number in grams, and they did like a conversion, and it came out to that. There's also coconut. So I'm going to move you to the side of it, Donna.
Oh, yeah, we saw that last week too.
Yeah, so now those guys think it's coconut. There's a spaghetti squash. But yeah, 11 inches and 15 ounces seems to be pretty standard. The cravings one is the size of a bag of half a dozen bagels. That seems a lot bigger than some of these things. That's pretty big.
I agree.
I think that these are not good.
Yeah.
And then this one
But
seems,
right now I'm picturing 2 of those bags inside me.
yeah, this one is your baby the size of a Pip Boy. This also seems too big. I didn't know what a Pip Boy was. Apparently, it's for this game Fallout 4, and people get into like making their own.
That is what my wrist looks like with the Pip Boy on it. How awesome is that? I've actually got a working Pip Boy. Got the map there. But let's go back to like.
He's actually got a working Pip Boy.
Actually, let's go stats.
It's pretty awesome. So I think that was it for the sizes. Yeah. Oh wait. Oh, the next section too. I'm also on the next section. So this is the weekly win or fail. So I was in charge of this week as well. So the win this week kind of came about sidelong because we were trying to see what we needed to do in advance of traveling with our newborn infants. And one of the things that you need to do if you're traveling abroad is to have a passport. And so we looked briefly into like how you go about getting a passport for an infant, and that led us to some passport photo information. There's quite a bit of it online, but even if you just Google passport photo infant, you know how Google always pops up some like images, and so we saw the images and kind of went down that rabbit hole. So this is like one of the first images for, and so other people have done this as well. So this person said Google baby passport photo and was not disappointed. So this is one, pretty good. This is another one. I don't really remember what these are that I'm taking you to now, but this one, oh yeah, this is from the government of Canada. And I just thought it was funny that like they're giving you example like things you need to do for your kid. It's nice that they say we recognize the difficulty in getting a neutral expression from your newborn. We do allow some range for infant facial expressions. Thank you. But also like examples of acceptable passport photos. I just feel like the fact that like that's the best they could do for an infant kind of shows you the problem, like the challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so that's from, whoops, oh, sorry, Government of Canada. And then this one, I also don't remember what it is, but oh yeah, this is 7 photo taking tips for baby passport photos. And so it's basically, I don't know why there's 9 pictures if it's 7 tips, but and there weren't really any tips. It was just like these
Oh,
photos. And the funny thing is, like, it almost looks like they put a different baby in the last image.
yeah,
It
they
definitely has
did.
a different outfit on. So it's almost, I feel like the advice is like swap your baby for a baby that has an actual neutral expression. And
I
no one will
didn't
really
notice
know.
either
I
though.
think that's actually true.
I wonder
Um,
if there's like a market for that. You rent a baby who's good at it.
yeah, that seems like good market. And then maybe our babies will, maybe that'll be a skill that they'll have, you can monetize. And then
A
this is like a
family
little
challenge
baby
to take a
video
good
for like from the
passport
Government of Canada
of a
again.
baby.
Um,
Here are some
yeah,
important tips.
so they're giving us some tips. So if you want some tips, just go to the Government of Canada. And they'll tell you how to do the baby. Um, but yeah, this is going.
Place
My
the baby on a
browser's really
clean
slow
white
right now,
sheet
so I'm not
in a
going to
baby
jump
chair,
around. Um,
or place.
yeah, so you can put the baby on the floor. So anyway, that was. Oh yeah, and then
Imagine
this is
that
kind
now we
of the
took our
best of all the
passport photos
photos.
to
This one went viral. So this is the drunk
drunk baby.
baby. From it was from Vancouver. Um,
I really like the shirt, and there's drool on the shirt. It's pretty good.
yeah.
That was awesome. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna narrate this section because I promised last week that we would get into epidurals a little bit, and I had a chance to look at it. And so what I tried to do was organize it. You'll see on the left-hand column, I put the claims or the things I had heard that were like heard either negative or positive about epidurals, or something that I wanted to follow up on. And then in the next column, I tried to summarize what I found. And I kind of, these are listed in order that they come up. So, like, the very first thing is, do you have access to it at the hospital where we are going? Yes. I'd read or heard that it prolongs labor. And when I looked into that, that's true, but it does usually happen if done too early. And when it does happen, it's like I had imagined that they meant it prolongs labor by like hours, but the studies that looked at this found it was in an order of minutes longer. So for that one, I think it's important to make sure that you're excuse me fully dilated before you get your epidural, and that should take care of that one. Effective pain relief. So this was an important one because that's kind of the reason for choosing it, for making labor feel less intense. And so yes, so it's very different. It operates differently than say nitrous oxide, which some people use. It's much more effective. So that was so that was true. I'd read that it restricts movement, and that turns out to be kind of true because it depends basically on how strong the epidural is, and on a case by case basis. So they can give you something called a mobile epidural, where you can still use your legs. But even if you have it where you can't, then you're kind of restricted to moving side to side. And I didn't find any research that showed that had an impact for the baby, but it's good to know. Pushing. We'd heard that it makes pushing either more easy or more hard. And so this, I still want to read a little bit more about this, but the first things I came across was that it may make pushing feel, and these are my quotes, too easy, just to say that because you can't feel what's going on down there, you can overpush. And then it is associated with a higher risk of tearing. So, and I think that's good to be cognizant of. And the next one is disruption of hormone. I read on one website they claim that it disrupts the hormone. So this sounds plausible because, pregnancy is this whole coordination of a lot of hormones to get everything happening just right. It doesn't mean our bodies are always perform flawlessly, but if everything goes well, then things are happening. And does the epidural disrupt that chain? The research says no. Okay, so another one was the change in blood pressure. So your blood pressure can drop if you're the mom and you have an epidural. So this can happen. However, the amounts it drops aren't dangerous. And last week in class, in our prenatal class, it came up. And basically, the RN there was very confident that when this happens, they're used to monitoring, and there's never a problem. They can basically adjust things. But I didn't get into the weeds on that one, on how they adjust. But anyway, it's not considered a danger. Excuse me. So we're almost at the end. So one thing I'd heard that this is good for is if you do have an unplanned C-section, which is a risk, at higher risk for if you are having twins, then if you do have an epidural, then you can avoid them having to put you under completely. So this is true. So that's good to know. The consequences for breastfeeding. Yes, there are consequences, possibly. It seems after reading about it that they're very, very minimal and they disappear in a few hours. But the consequences seem to be that the infants born after epidural can be associated with less coordination. So that means like when they're trying to come up and latch on to the breast, the very first time or second time even, they're not as good at it. They might not get as good of a latch. And I understand the latch is really important. However, it doesn't appear to have any longer term effects. So they still are latching on, just not as in a coordinated way. So you might need to help them out. You might need to wait until their third try. So that's something to be aware of, but fairly minor. And then finally, the last one is the question that Daniel, you and I had asked ourselves was, are there any long-term neurological impacts? And this I didn't find any research on, but I want to keep looking. Because if there were, of course, that would be a deal breaker for me. But so far, as you can see, there's one green and one red. Those were, for me, the most sure benefit and most sure risk that I could find. And when I weigh them at this point, it seems like the benefits outweigh the risks, but I want to keep looking. And that's my summary. So the last thing we have on the week 22 is a child giving a sick burn to their mom when they're upset. And so this is one we found online where the kid threatened their mom in the following way.
Sorry, it's taking a long time to load.
We can make one up in the meantime.
It's from Elizabeth Licata.
I can tease next week in the meantime. I think next week we're going to get into diapering, by the way, as our topic. Okay, so here's the sick burn for this week. Yeah, she just got right in her face and screamed, "You're over. Mommies are canceled." So that was a pretty good one. Anyway, we've had a lot of fun finding these, I think. Thanks for hosting and co-hosting this week.
No problem.
Over and out for week 22.